You know, as a traveler, there's one basic decision you need to make before you ever take a trip, and especially as an older traveler. And that decision is, do you go by yourself or with a partner, in essence solo or independent travel, or do you take a tour group? It's a really basic question. But today, in this video, we're going to talk about both types of travel, independent solo travel and group travel, explore the pros and cons of each of those, and try to help you to decide which one might be best for you. Okay, so let's get right into it. The simplest way to describe those two different types of travel is comfort versus freedom. You might argue with those two concepts a little bit, but essentially group travel is comfort. So let's go into that. Group tours, especially small group tours, are becoming and have been for the last 10 years or so, have been a very popular option for mature travelers, and especially single female travelers. We have a friend who is a single female. She's 79 years old, has been on, I'd say, over 30 small group trips with this same company, and goes at least, I'd say, 3 times a year. And she's gone all over the world, and she loves it. She'll never go any other way. And the reason is that she says, it's so easy. It's a no-brainer. I just show up. Sometimes, I'd say probably most of the time, she doesn't even do any research about where she's going. She just knows she's signed up for it, she's paid her money, and voila, everything is taken care of. So let's go through the reasons that small group travel is so popular and what's so good about it. Number one, it's easy and hassle-free. So just like our friend that says, hey, I just show up. The tour company takes care of everything. They take care of your airline. You don't even have to figure out what flight to go on. You just tell them where you're from. They get you there and get you back. They make all the hotel arrangements. They arrange all the tours. Or your guide. They arrange for all or most of your meals. They arrange for all your transport between these different places. So that is probably the number one attraction. It's just, you just show up and you have all of this experience that's coming to you. Number two, it can be often tailored to older travelers. There are lots of different tour companies that specialize in group tours that cater for either older people or maybe more backpackers. Number three, these group tours offer you a curated kind of experience. So it's designed specifically for the kind of traveler you are. Are you an adventurous traveler? Are you more of a ultimate luxury hotel traveler? Are you want to explore the foods in a certain place, or whatever kind of traveler you are? They can tailor those trips to just exactly the kind of traveler you are. Probably the biggest reason, besides the ease of it, in taking a group trip is the security and safety. You are in kind of a little bubble. You're with these same people. And usually in these small groups, there may be 16 at the most, 12, 14 people, something like that. You're usually always in the same group. It's a controlled environment. You have a guide that kind of takes care of you, and you can feel safe, especially if you're in a place where you don't speak the language, you're not familiar with the food, and it's really definitely foreign to you. We've got a 80-year-old friend, a guy, and his wife, and they just returned from one of these small group tours in Europe. And it's the same company that our 79-year-old female friend uses. I asked him about his experience. He says, it was the best. It was just great. He says, not only did he not have to do any planning, but he said, there's certain foods that I'm just not that familiar with, foods that are other than American food. And I really appreciated that when they took us to a place, I was able to talk with our guide. He would explain it to us. He would tell us what was on the menu. He says, I didn't speak the language there, and it was all taken care of. The language is a big thing. He says that the times that they did have time on their own, he felt a little bit apprehensive because he didn't speak the language and he wasn't sure just exactly what was he going to order, where was he going to go, that sort of thing. It was all taken care of. Number 5, One of the advantages of a small tour group is you have a built-in brand new circle of friends. You can experience all these new things together. You can share your mutual reactions to them. What do you think about it? How do you feel about this? Wasn't that great? You know, that sort of thing. And sometimes these friendships can last way beyond the length of time of that tour. Maybe you can go on another tour with them later. 6 is expert guides. When you're on one of these small group tours, you have a guide. Now, obviously, some guides are better than others, but you've got somebody that can tell you all about a place, can tell you about the culture, what you're seeing. You could ask questions. I mean, it's a definite advantage. And your guide can kind of tailor your trip to your interests. For example, if you're interested in the food of where you're going, you know, he can sort of direct the rest of the group. So, take kind of a poll. Is everybody interested in trying out this new restaurant? Or would you all be interested in trying this new kind of food? Oh, yeah, sounds great. And, tailor it that way. Or are some of you very interested in the architecture of this certain place? Oh, yeah, we all are. Great. And they can kind of direct it that way. Let me say one final thing about the advantage of group tours in terms of comfort. Yes, there is a lot of psychological comfort. Not all group tours can be necessarily physically comfortable. There are some group tours, especially to some remote places, say if you're going, into Central Africa or Central Asia, where the infrastructure isn't there, they may not be physically comfortable. And there are some of these group tours that that you're on a sort of all-terrain vehicle. It's sort of a modified bus that goes out into the countryside. And a lot of times you're going to be sleeping in tents or yurts. You may have to cook some of your own food that you bought in the local market. You're almost getting back to more of a backpacker experience there. But it can be very rewarding, if not physically a little bit challenging. So always keep that in mind. So let's talk about the other type, independent or solo travel. What are some of the advantages of that? Well, you are in control. Every aspect is under your control. You have to do everything. You have to plan the airlines. You have to figure out what's the best way to get to where you want to go. You have to figure out your accommodations. Where are you going to stay? Are you staying in a hotel? Are you staying in a chain hotel, a little local hotel? Or are you going to stay in an Airbnb? How close to the attractions or whatever it is you're going there to see? How close are you going to be located? And if you're going to be like in a suburban neighborhood or something, well, okay, how are you going to get to some of the other sites you want to see? Is there a metro? Is there a tram? Is there buses? When do they run? Oh, how much do they cost? Or how do I get on that? Where does it stop? That sort of thing. It's all on you. And if you make mistakes, which you will, it's on you. There's nobody you can blame. You can't, blame the tour company if you're on a tour group and say, oh, it was terrible. They made us stay at this awful hotel, and the bus we rode on was just awful. The guy didn't speak English, blah, 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 blah. Any of that kind of stuff. Any of those complaints, it's all on you. 2 advantage is scheduling. You make the schedule. If you want to stay in a certain place for more than a couple hours or whatever, it's up to you. If you don't want to go anywhere on a particular day, it's all up to you. On a group tour, it's pretty well scheduled. Sure, they build in free time, that sort of thing. But it's still, okay, we're staying here, get on the bus or the vehicle at a certain time, be there, we're going to be here at this time, we're stopping at this place, you've got 2 hours to go walk around, look at this, be back here at 3 o'clock, that kind of thing. When you're doing it yourself, you're your own master. Food. You've got to forage, as Tanya calls it. I mean, you have to figure out where you're going to eat. Where's the nearest place? What kind of food is there? How late is it open? When does it open? That sort of thing. Do I need to make a reservation? Or where's the grocery store? If we want to find a place to get a salad or something we can take back to wherever we're staying and eat there. Where's that located? And then when you get in there, some things can be really foreign. You can't read the language on the items, or you usually can tell what they are. But okay, anyway, you got to figure all that out. Number 4, unexpected situations. This is a really big advantage to traveling on your own. I think about over the 60 years that I have been traveling, some of the unexpected pleasures and joys that I've gotten that you would never be able to get if you were on a tour group. I remember one time, this was probably almost 40 years ago, and I was in Kathmandu, and I got up early in the morning. It was back in those days when I really liked getting up early. And it was about, I don't know, 5 in the morning or so. It was barely daylight. And I decided I left the hotel that I was staying in, and I walked down this little street. I don't even know if it was paved, but I knew it was on the way to this particular temple that I thought would be really interesting to see early in the morning. And I'm walking down this street, and I watch the people as they're getting up in the morning. And little kids are running around and were staggering around. They're not quite awake yet. And there were chickens, and there was somebody slaughtering a lamb off to the side in a little booth there. And the people were just looking at me like, who is this white guy walking down our street at 5 in the morning? It was amazing. I mean, those are things that will, live with me all my life. I remember that kind of thing. Oh, not too long ago, Tanya and I were in Ghana, and we weren't traveling that day together. Tanya wanted to do something else, and I was off with this other group. And it was a tour excursion that day, and they would let everybody off, and they were going to go look at this market, authentic market. Well, it wasn't. Oh yeah, it's authentic. It was there, but it was not where most of the local Ghanaians would be shopping. So I just didn't really, and there's a gaggle, not terribly, 12, 15 people kind of walking down this alley, and they obviously don't look like any of the Ghanaians, and they're going through the market. Oh, let's buy some of this, let's buy some of that. I just didn't want to be part of that. So I kind of went off to the side. I started talking with this woman who had this little shop there outside, and I can't remember what she was selling. Just miscellaneous stuff there, little candies and food items and stuff. And while I'm standing there, I'm talking to her. She spoke very good English, so we could communicate. And then these little kids come over that had just been on their lunch break from school. And these little kids, their eyes are wide open. They've never seen, well, I'm sure they've seen people like me, but not that often. And what's he doing standing here? And they were in there to buy little sweeties, little items from this woman that sees them every day. And I talked to them a little bit, and we sort of used hand gestures and stuff, and we were laughing, and had a wonderful time. You'd never get that experience if you were with a big group or even a small group. I mean, you're just kind of intimidating to them. One unexpected experience that we'll always remember was we were on a trip to Bulgaria on our own. We were in Velika Trnovo. We were in this little hotel. We had to change rooms. We were there for a couple, 2 or 3 nights, and we had to change rooms because they told us that, well, we have this big tour group that's coming in. They're going to stay here at the hotel. Well, okay, well, we'll move. So at breakfast, we went down there and we saw who these people were. And they were all Americans. They had their own bus, and they were all there in Bulgaria to go to this folk festival that takes place every 5 years or something up in the hillside, not that far, maybe a 2-hour drive or so from Velika Trnovo. And we started talking with their leader, this woman. And she was just so interested that here are these 2 people just all by themselves. And she says, oh, well, you're going to the folk festival, of course. I said, no, I didn't know. Is there a folk festival? She was shocked. What do you mean? What are you doing here if you're not here for the folk festival? We're just traveling around Bulgaria, riding in buses and doing stuff. And she says, it's only every 5 years. It would be criminal to miss this thing. Why don't you come along? We still have some seats on our bus. And, we looked at each other. Well, okay, that sounds okay. I said, is it okay? Do the other people mind? Nah, nobody minds. It's just fine. Well, what about, where do we stay? Well, we stay in farmhouses up there. The little village only has about 2,000 people, and all these people come in from all over for this festival. They'll find a place for you. Okay. So we got on the bus, and she introduced us to the rest of the group. They'd come from Indiana or something like that. And they all pretty much knew each other. We have the new people here joining us, Jay and Tanya, and they're going with us to the festival. Okay. And jolly time. We're going along, and of course, well, where do we find a place to sleep? Well, we had to share a room with another couple. There really wasn't another room. It was real uncomfortable because I had 4 people in this room that was about the size of I don't know. It was like less than 10 by 12. It was a little teeny little place, and we had to kind of scrunch together. And we knew that they were not terribly happy because we were interlopers, that was for sure. And so the next night we found another place to go. But the point was, we went to this folk festival, and we were exposed to a whole different part of Bulgarian village life that we had no idea existed. And it was just amazing. Now, could we have enjoyed this with that tour group? Yes, I suppose we could, but that would have been the reason that we were going there. This was just totally serendipity, and it worked out just wonderful. It was a wonderful time we had. I could go on. There's more anecdotes that I have, but we'll save those for another video. Oh, one thing is another item, number 5, I'd say, and it's kind of related to unexpected situations, and it's the reaction that you get from local people. Tanya and I were in Indonesia earlier this year, and we were in a train station, and we were videoing ourselves, and then, you know, we took a video of our interactions with people and being on the train and stuff, and then we posted these on our YouTube channel. And the reaction that we got from Indonesians was absolutely amazing and heartwarming. They were so many of them were so shocked that here were these old people that were out traveling around by themselves in Indonesia. They just couldn't believe it. Some of them thought it was hilarious. They'd never seen old YouTubers like us. And they were so kind. And so I wrote all these nice thank you notes to them. They said, oh, welcome to Indonesia. They, so many of them affectionately called us Oma and Opa, Grandma and Grandpa. And I think if we had been in a tour group in Indonesia, of course I didn't. I think I only saw one tour group the whole time we were there, but you would just be kind of anonymous because you're just a bunch of people in this group that's sort of going through. That was amazing. These situations that you just don't get. Oh, one more before I forget. In Romania, we were riding with this guy. This was last year. We're riding with this taxi driver who was taking us to this other town, and he didn't speak any English at all. But Google Translate is amazing, and especially the voice feature when you use that. And I'm sitting in the front seat, and I'm talking to him, and I said, okay, talk into the camera here, okay, and then it would translate, and we understood exactly what we were talking about. And he took us to some of these places I think if you were in a tour group, you would never go to. He was taking us through this little neighborhood, and there were these pretty ritzy looking houses. And he was explaining to us, he says, oh yeah, the guy that built these, he's in the Romanian mafia, and he went to the US and California and made a bunch of money, I think illicitly, doing this or that. And he decided to build these houses. One is here for him, one's for his brother, another one's for his cousin or something. And they all kind of looked the same. They were in this, kind of grotesque, huge, over-the-top style. But it was so interesting. I'd never known about the Romanian mafia, but this guy did. He's from there. He's from that town. He knew these guys. So wonderful little things you run into. So that gets down to item number 6, and it's kind of related to the others. And I call it freedom to connect authentically. As I mentioned before, when you're in a group tour, you're in kind of a bubble. And I know a lot of these tour groups, they incorporate in their visits authentic experiences. They'll have home visits with a family of whatever country they're in, who will cook a meal from where they are and explain to you what it's like in living there and village life and that sort of thing. But I kind of wonder, even though, it's better than nothing, I'm just wondering how really authentic that kind of experience really is. Maybe it really is, but it's all been arranged, by the tour company and by the guide. And I'm just imagining, what if it was us? What if there was a tour group of foreigners from some country, and it was all arranged that they were going to come to our house in Tennessee, and they want to see what it's like, what's an American really like? Well, what do Americans really eat? What do they do? Do they watch television, or what, anything about it? And you would be kind of, well, it would make me feel uncomfortable, but also, you're kind of forced to put on your Put your best foot forward. You don't want to say anything wrong or that's going to embarrass your culture. And you're under the watchful eye of that guide. And if you say anything that's really wrong, they're sure as heck not going to be bringing a tour group to your place again. It's so much better if you can somehow get these experiences on your own. You may not get as many, you may have to work harder, but they can come in the form of just things that you just don't even think would ever happen. We just came back from Poland. We were in Wrocław about 3 weeks ago. We're walking back to our hotel from the restaurant where we had dinner. And Tanya saw this open door in this old mansion-looking building. And the door is open, and we look in, and all down the hallway in there are all these little candle votive-type lights. I thought, what is this place? For Halloween, it would really be great. But yeah, what is this place? Don't know. So Tanya said, well, let's go look and see. We walked up the steps, walked in there. It was all kind of dark. And I looked off to the side. There was a little office kind of area with a window, and there was a couple in there. And this guy and his wife, they sort of run this place, and there was a concert going on a second floor of this building. Turns out this building, it's a public building, but it had been built during the Prussian occupation of Poland in the 1800s. And he was so pleased to show us around. And again, we used Google Translate because we didn't speak Polish, he didn't speak any English. He showed us this elevator that was all wooden, that was still the original elevator that I think they still use in this building. He took us into some of these rooms, and he was very proud of the furniture and some of the carvings on by the fireplace and so forth that were all original, that were done, in the 1800s when this place was built. And we just had a grand time, just total serendipity. And that's one of the things. But if you're traveling independently, it sort of tears all of these kind of filters away. You're not seeing a place through the eyes of your tour guide. You're not seeing it through the itinerary that the group tours put together. It's just whatever happens. I don't know. I think it's just terrific. Another item is freedom. In terms of scheduling, you can decide whether you want to go to a souvenir shop or not, craft shop or whatever it is that so many group tours always include. Oh yes, now we're going to see how they make silk. I don't know how many times I've seen that. Now we're going to see how they make this, how they make these ceramics. Okay, and then of course you're supposed to buy stuff. If I want to buy stuff, I'll go buy stuff. I don't want to do that. You've got freedom when you're on your own. You can do it the way you want. The final argument for independent travel is, I think it makes you stronger. You build confidence in yourself. You become a problem-solving machine. From the time you start planning the trip to the time you're there, anything that goes wrong or anything that's going to happen, you do it. You can solve the problem. And you can do it. You really can. And I don't care if you're 80 years old, you can do it. If you're on a group tour, you don't have to face any of that stuff. You're not in control, really. So you just go along with the flow. And like I say, it's easy, it's comfortable. Why not? One of the things that happens when you're traveling with your partner, as Tanya and I have done for over 30 years, 33 years, 35 years, I guess, is you really start to, you recognize each other's strengths, and you count on each other. You recognize, okay, whose sense of direction is a little bit better than the other. And sometimes on any given day, one's may be better than the other one. Oh, how do we get home? Oh, I remember seeing that sign. Oh, do you? I didn't see that. I don't remember that. Yeah, I saw that. I remember that. Our hotel's just down here, about another 10 blocks or whatever it is. Yeah, so you work with each other. It's good for the relationship, as we say. So there's the trade-off. Traveling solo, independently, it's much more difficult than being on a group tour. The planning alone is almost a full-time job. I spend weeks planning some of our trips. And I like to plan them in detail. Not that we're going to be in a certain place every single day, because we build in the flexibility, but I know how we're going to get to a certain place, or at least how we plan to do it. But it takes a lot of time. And being responsible for your own safety, it's on you. You have to know, you have to have some street smarts and figure out, okay, maybe at a certain time of night, maybe this isn't the best street to go down. Maybe we're in a little bit of a sketchy area. Maybe this doesn't look quite right, doesn't feel quite right. Well, it's up to you to figure that out, but you can do it. Let's get down to the final conclusion here and how we feel about this. My own opinion, as you may have gathered, is that I prefer solo independent travel. And I think it's probably because it's how I grew up. I mean, when I was 13 years old, my folks put me on an airplane and sent me to Germany for the summer to work on my uncle's farm. They took me to the airport, they put me on the airplane and said, off you go, see you in 3 months. And it involved, I had to fly from Portland, Oregon to Seattle, had to change a plane, go to Frankfurt, figure out the Frankfurt airport, get on another plane, go to Bremen, where my cousins met me at the airport. Now remember, this is before internet. I know it's hard to believe. It was 1961. Okay? So there was no internet. Transatlantic calls were very, very expensive, so it was all just by letter. So my cousins knew that Jay was coming in on a certain plane at a certain time in Bremen at a certain date. And that was it. And sure enough, there they were, and they met me. Don't even know if I had their phone number. I knew their address, but I don't know if I even had their phone number in case anything went wrong. But I was used to that. I was used from the very beginning. Always been kind of used to that, and I have to be honest with myself. I don't really particularly like traveling with other people. It's not that I don't like people. It's just that if I'm in a group setting, the odds are that they are going to be other Americans. And quite honestly, other Americans don't interest me. They, for the most part, they don't have anything to tell me. I mean, I've been an American all my life. I don't want the perspective of other Americans really that much. They're not going to change that much. I know, gross generalizations, but this is the way I really feel. They're going to talk about their kids and their grandkids. I don't have any. Tanya and I don't have any. I don't care. I'm not interested. And their comments sometimes are so culturally insensitive. Some of the comments that will come up, and I don't mean occasionally, but, oh, the poverty here, their people are so poor. Oh, can you imagine what it would be like this if it was in the States? I had one lady in Nicaragua I was with, and she said it within earshot of local people there. And she looked at us and she says, what a dump. And I thought, oh my God, people live here. This is their home. I just thought, I want to be as far away from these people as possible. Now, I'm sure Americans don't have a monopoly on being culturally insensitive. It's just that's what I've experienced, and if I can avoid it, I just as soon do that. There is a third option in traveling, and this is kind of a hybrid option. And Tanya and I end up doing this a lot, and that is where we'll travel to a certain place independently, and we'll spend a few days wherever we are, and then we take organize a group trip somewhere. We did this in Australia earlier this year. We wanted to go to Tasmania, so we were already in Sydney, and we flew to Hobart, and then we had arranged for a week-long trip in a van with, I think there were seven other people on that, and we just had a great time. Went around the Tasmania and hiked in different places, stayed in different hotels, and that was a grand time. Then we flew back to Sydney, and we were on our own doing whatever else we were doing. So you can mix up these things, and I think that's what we will probably do more and more as we go along. It's especially good if you're going to some really remote places where you could do it on your own, but it would really take a lot of work. And we're going to go to the stands, 5 different stands later in 2026. Kyrgyzstan, Kazakhstan, Turkmenistan, Tajikistan, Uzbekistan, and within a month time period. We could do that on our own, but to have somebody else organize that a little bit, that's going to be a little bit easier. So you just kind of figure out what works best for you. Whether you decide to go on a group tour or to travel on your own as a mature, older traveler, that is, of course, up to you and at any given time. And what floats your boat the best. One is certainly not better than the other. They just are what they are with their advantages and disadvantages. And I know that a lot of people will be, as they get older, are going to be taking these group tours. Go for it. The most important thing is to get out there and don't just hang around. To me, I heard something the other day. It was like it's like being old and not traveling. Doesn't matter what age you are, I guess. Not traveling it's like being a bird that has wings but decides not to fly. Well, if you're a penguin, not much you can do about that. But if you're most other birds, get out there, fly. See you in our next video. Thank you very much.